Hi, I'm William Piku. Welcome to 6 to 10 Minutes. For many decades, government surveillance has had a strong presence in the United States of America. Now, what is government surveillance? To put it simply, government surveillance is how the government oversees America and its populace, as well as the potential threats within or out of the nation. In broad terms, government surveillance can come from public locations, sold electronic products, and even government agencies and acts. As the nation moved from World War II to the Cold War, domestic security became even more a priority. The tension between the United States and Soviet Union led to a variety of activities against communist organizations in America and organizations perceived to be affiliated with communism. This environment produced many of the secretive and shrouded security organizations we know today in the United States.
Hi, I'm Richard Simmons. As you can see, cameras are located all throughout public places, in stores, in vehicles, and even in streets. The common misconception is that these cameras are on in order to catch crimes in action. While this may be true, what many people fail to realize is that these cameras are always on, looking at everything you do. This means that you're being recorded without your consent, directly violating your rights. Of course, the Fourth Amendment ensures your privacy. But this still doesn't stop anyone from recording without your consent and then keeping said footage. This can be used for blackmail, voyeurism, discrimination, and other non-security purposes. This creates a precedent that consent, in terms of recording, is not that important. For example, in certain traffic areas and streets, there are cameras that are made to take photos of license plates and give that information to the government. This gives the government information that you may not want out. You might not be comfortable with sharing it, such as where you live, where you travel throughout the day, or what car you drive.
Hi, I'm Jamil Sutherland. In terms of how the government can spy on you via products you buy, there are many examples. There is Alexa, Amazon, Ring, Siri, Google, and even your smart TV. In Alexa/Amazon, the small device will listen for keywords and respond accordingly. If you were to say clearly, Alexa, what is the weather like outside? Alexa would respond with what temperature it is, how cloudy it is, and if it's going to rain. However, because Alexa stays on, it's always listening to you. In one instance, a woman named Danielle was talking to her husband, and Alexa picked up on a command and called one of Danielle's friends. This could have led to someone that the couple knows hearing things that the couples did not want them to hear. For Ring, the up-and-coming doorbell product made to make sure intruders aren't going into your home, the camera is always on. What people don't know is the camera spies on people going home without the homeowner's consent. Similar to Alexa, the camera is always on.
For Siri, with many personal examples, it is relevant to say that Siri is actually listening to the phone owner. For example, 5 days in a row, 2 times daily, Sam Nichols started uttering phrases to his phone and monitored his Facebook feed for changes, specifically for sponsored posts. He then found out that the changes to his Facebook ad content came literally overnight, and offers related to his test phrases started showing up in his newsfeed. This shows that Siri is listening to people. When looking at Google's terms and policy contract, it states that when you upload, submit, store, send, or receive content to or through our services, you give Google and those we work with a worldwide license to use, host, store, reproduce, modify, create derivative works such as those resulting from translations, adaptations, or other changes we make so that your content works better with our services. Communicate, publicly perform, public display, and distribute each content. The government could easily use this information to spy on people.
Speaking of the CIA, both that and other government agencies use many various tools to survey the populace. This includes acts that have been made that give certain powers to these agencies. These changes were made in response to 9/11, an attack that the government believes could have been prevented had there been more security and surveillance on terrorist threats. The CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, has access to televisions, smartphones, and even antivirus software, as they are all vulnerable to CIA hacking. A specialized CIA unit called the Mobile Devices Branch produced malware to control and steal information from iPhones, which were a particular focus because the smartphone's popularity is huge.
The TSA, Transportation Security Association, got a major revamp after 9/11 because America fell at fault for inadequately checking people's boarding plans. Now the TSA has a list of people that they refer to as the Quiet List, the Quiet Skies List. The Quiet Skies List is full of people that the government assumes are potential terrorist threats. For example, in July of 2018, people that traveled to Turkey on that list because they could be possibly affiliated with terrorists. Once someone makes the list, a TSA air marshal team is secretly placed on the next flight. However, many complaints have come from TSA agents stating that this system is easily susceptible to racial profiling due to what people believe terrorist profiles to be. This is an unfortunate result from 9/11, as the TSA is trying their best to ensure the safety.
Today, they continue to spy on a number of Americans' international calls, text messages, website activities, and emails. They're allowed to do this because of a law passed by Congress, the FISA Amendments Act. Although the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court overlooks the government's surveillance activities, it operates in secrecy through one-sided procedures favoring the government. When looking at FISA Amendments Act of 2008, this gives the NSA almost unsupervised power to monitor Americans' international phone calls, text messages, and emails under the supposed justification of finding foreigners. The NSA is retrieving billions of cell phone location records each day. It is recording every single cell phone call in and out of the country, and information on data from Google and Yahoo user accounts. While spying on foreigners, the NSA cannot help but collect a large amount of Americans' communications. When looking at upstream and downstream surveillance or collection, it is self-evident that the government is using it to spy on people in the U.S. and on terrorist threats. Upstream surveillance is tracking our communication between each other over the internet, like intercepting phone calls or any other internet traffic. 4 major surveillance programs actively use upstream surveillance: Oakstar, Fairview, Blarney, and Stormbrew. Downstream surveillance is tracking information and communications from companies. When speaking to Rick Leggett, a recognized expert in cyber threats, he stated, "Up until a year or so ago, Google Mail was the most popular email service used by terrorists. That's not because Google is evil. It is because it is a great service. It is reliable and it is robust." He then later states, "Downstream refers to the collection of stored communications using specific selectors, for example, from a target's mailbox. The intent is to get the content of the target's communications. In the event advertent collection of U.S. person info occurs, minimization procedures are applied that protect the identity of the U.S. citizen." Edward Snowden was a CIA contractor. PRISM is a domestic surveillance program and was the biggest program Snowden brought to light. This program was NSA's mass collection access to emails, documents, photographs, and other data stored in major companies such as Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, Paltalk, AOL, Skype, YouTube, Dropbox, and Apple. He leaked confidential files of internet and phone surveillance taken on American citizens by NSA. He released these secret documents to The Guardian in May 2013 at a hotel in Hong Kong and has been given temporary asylum in Moscow. Ultimately, Snowden's revelations show that in 2011, the FISA court found the NSA had acted illegally and intercepting U.S. digital traffic through the PRISM program in addition to foreign activity.
Mr. Snowden, what were you trying to accomplish when you decided to leak information to the world?
I need to let the people know what the government has been doing without their consent. We live in a democracy, so the people need to be able to decide for themselves if it's okay for the government to monitor them. And if not, there are ways, as we've seen throughout history, to enact change.
There are certainly a lot of people mad at you for what you did.
To me, it's important that we continue to be as open as we can. I'm committed to the journey that we've begun over a decade ago to greater transparency.
When talking to Ross Anderson about the matter, a leading academic specializing in cybersecurity and privacy sees the Snowden revelations as a seminal moment. He said, "Snowden's revelations are one of these flashbulb moments which change the way people look at a thing. But around the world, it brought home to everyone that surveillance really is an issue." After our interview with Snowden, he still came up to us and said no matter what happens to him in the future, he will still have no regrets.